This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one. One mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts, Joan Newcomb coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Yay, Portland, Oregon, everybody. Hello. It's so nice to be with you again from home.
Yes. Well, you came back to a lot of excitement. Our topic today is fearmongers, bullies, bigots as consciousness.
And consciousness.
I'm saying as consciousness. I'll get to this point.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
People are having different reactions to the current emotional climate. And as consciousness, there is a greater perspective to all of this and ways to respond. Tune in to learn more. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, really. And if you'd like to call in, listeners, please, we always invite you to do that. Try and do it in the first 10 minutes of the show because it gets kind of involved later on. And that number is 1-844-390-8255.
Yes, and an invitation to go deeper with us and to connect with us beyond the show is our website is consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, and there you can catch our podcasts, listen to all the previous shows. You can access Janet's website as well as my website. You can also read Janet's blog, and my blog is posted there, and you can see both of our meetups. Janet holds meetups twice a week in Portland, and I hold meetups in Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, University Place, Lakewood. I was in Kent last week, all over the Puget Sound. And you can also learn about our sessions. And our show is also on Facebook. And Janet and I are both on Facebook as well. Janet Barrett and I'm Joan Newcomb. And you can also see our show on Twitter or follow our show on Twitter. It's at Joan and Janet. And mine is at Joan Newcomb. I'm exhausted from running around the Puget Sound. And then the show is on YouTube, and you can binge listen to us on YouTube. And you can also, I'm on YouTube. Joan M. Newcomb is my YouTube channel.
And our free conference call is this weekend, everyone. And that's Thursday night. Let me see, that's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific. And we invite you to join us. That's where we get up close and personal with everyone, and we take that hour to really focus and make it real in a way that it always is, but in a way that we can really connect to, in dealing with whatever's going on and what you're feeling. And so it's an up close and personal time, and marvelous things happen out of those experiences. So we invite you to join us. You can contact us at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com and get all the information there.
Yes. Up close, personal, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. And you've got your workshop coming up, right?
I have got stuff. There's a couple of other things here. So yes, I have a workshop coming up next Monday. It's Discover Your Purpose, Regain Your Passion. It is in Tacoma at used to be Force's Coffee. It's Cutter's Point Coffee on 22nd and Pearl. That's their big old meeting room in the back there. And so that's an in-person thing. I actually have another Discover Your Purpose, Regain Your Passion coming up in Seattle on December 11th. It is a presentation for another meetup group, and they have not secured a space for that yet. So I will let you know in Seattle as soon as I find that out. And I'm going to be doing a webinar for folks in December who are in other places and can't physically get to Tacoma or Seattle. So discover your purpose, regain your passion for life. And man, we're really being called. We're really being called to be our authentic selves and rise above all of this.
Yeah. And so listeners, the number to call in if you'd like to join us live here is 1-844-390-8255. And you were going to mention some other things there, Joan?
No, but I can launch right into Fearmongers, Bullies, Bigots, and Consciousness.
Yeah, we got those, don't we?
Oh, my.
Oh, my, yes. Well, what do we notice about all that? What do we want to talk about today?
Well, I've been following this all through the campaign, and I've been following the meltdown and fallout since the election. And you were kind of, you were dealing with your own meltdown and fallout in Kauai. And so it's, though you had an experience on the plane of somebody's meltdown and fallout as well.
Yeah,
so the country is kind of melting down and falling out.
Right.
The campaign of the president-elect was based on fear-mongering and worst-case scenarios. And it was a lot of hot air to most people. However, the hot air seems to be becoming a reality now as they're making the motions to come into form. And I will just say that a lot can happen between now and December 19th, which is when the Electoral College actually votes him in. And it is such a bizarro, crazy world right now with changes happening at any moment, unbelievable things happening at any moment, that this whole scenario could reverse in really unexpected ways.
Well, I think what I notice, especially in traveling, and when you travel someplace, and it has a whole different, Hawaii, I'll just mention, it has a really different relationship to information than the mainland, which, the bulk of the United States we call. And so it was very interesting to be someplace in the United States, but not in the United States. Right. There is this difference, and you have something called island time, and you have a lot of different things work at a different pace. And so it was very interesting to be there and still be connected. And certainly I do that physically, and process information for people and stuff, and in my own. And so it was a very challenging time. And I think I was just reflecting all these different steps and stages of process, and my own husband's feelings about it, my personal feelings about it, but those really get kind of lost in all the other things one can experience about life. And I'm sure there are other people. I'm not unique in that. I think that many of us are feeling all these different conflictions, because for every side, there's another side. And so whatever your personal viewpoint is, there's someone else who said, okay, this is a good way and I like this. And what we're doing is we're looking at those underlying factors that are at play, and what registers to both you and I is this emotional terrain that's been working, and it's been working for this election. And so we just want to address that and go, okay, how do we deal with all this? So this is where we are today with listeners and what the world's going on.
Well, yes.
How to be okay.
Yes, and. Yes, and. And yeah. When we broached this topic for this week, I know you and I had different approaches to how to respond to this. And I want to let our listeners know that there are, there's lots of choices on how to respond to this. And you've noticed the reactions all around the country. And we're hoping to offer some comfort and encouragement on how to respond to this as the greater consciousness that you are, as the empowered consciousness that you are. Because it's very easy to be reactionary, and I know for myself I have been pretty strongly triggered. I came from, I grew up in a household with a narcissistic bully, and my training was to go full out Mad Max in defending people who were being assaulted or standing up to the bully. So while everyone else was crying last week, I was ready to go out and, have a different reaction.
And that was on a personal, right? That's yourself you're talking about,
that's
right?
How I was personally reacting. And that's not operating as consciousness. Right. But I wanted to let people know that we're all having we're having reactions on a multitude of levels, and we're not going to be a couple of white women, housewives sitting here saying, "Oh, just love. Everybody just rise to the state of love." Because some people are encountering this world in some really core patterns. And I am being telepathic at this moment, and I'm going to respond to saying that it is time to take a commercial break, but stay tuned, because we'll be talking about fearmongering, bullies, bigots, and consciousness in a state of grace when we come right back.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan. We're along here with Janet, and we are talking about fearmongers, bullies, bigots, and how to respond as consciousness.
Yeah. We really respond as consciousness is what we need to do, right? Lots of things going on out there. For me, my approach is I look to where I do it inside myself, right? Because I want to reflect out into the world that I know I'm okay. As consciousness, I know I'm okay, and I'm having these interesting experiences and traumatic experiences and all kinds of different things. And still, we know we're okay. We got that in group last night. And how to be okay with knowing we're okay when other people might not want us to be okay. And that's another part of all this. So there's so many flavors we're going to talk about here. So where do we want to start?
And I'll start with something you just said about being okay when other people wouldn't want us to be okay. And when you are aligned as consciousness, there is no other. Mm-hmm. And where I come from is that this is a time to really get in touch with ourselves as consciousness. And within that, you have an inner sense of authority and seniority of you creating your reality down to the smallest detail. And when you stand in that sense of internal power, there are no bullies. And bullies won't show up in your hologram because it's not fun.
Right. So it's always looking, it's the blend of self and consciousness, right? And how we interact with ourselves and how we show up. And it's like, okay, this is, as consciousness is, this is a great time and experience for me to look at self and go, okay, how are you doing? And we found that in group last night was very strong, was we know we're okay. And what peace that was. And then I had people bring in someone who they wanted to feel that peace also, but it was their sense of peace. And then what happened with that? And then, there were all these stages you could experience. So should we get into heart and carry on from there, you think?
Yes.
All right, everybody. Let's do that, because this is all about each of us as a collective, definitely, and as the individual. So, listeners, thanks for being with us and adding into this current environment, and everyone else out there, wherever time and space you're in, we're all one here in this moment. So let's just notice in our awareness, bring awareness to how you are in your body, that you have a body, and start with your heart, physical heart. That makes it easy. So we notice that, and I can just so we do have a heart, and some people are very tired, and so just notice that. It's not about being attached, it's just allowing yourself to hold awareness of all the different parts and things that we don't notice sometimes. So be grateful and appreciative that you have a heart and it's beating. There you go. And then notice the second meaning, the emotional terrain of heart. And this is where you have emotions. And we're grateful and appreciative that we have emotions. And they can challenge us at times, but they are what life is about. And we all have them, no matter what awareness you hold of them. So just notice what might be up and running. And there might be a myriad of layers of flavors out and about. So what if you could just acknowledge them? There we go. Because for every side, there's the other side, and they're just not the other side. It's just a different flavor. That's all. There's so many viewpoints to have as individuals. And we all share in them. There we go. There we go, everyone. And then there's our third meaning of heart, core, essence of all. And this is where we all step off into each other, where we lose the individuality. Okay? Yep. Where we lose the individuality. And there is no.
The universe is calling.
Yeah. It's
one ringy dingy.
Reflective. It only took 2 ringy dingies. So just notice the infinite sea of potential where all this just falls away. And this is what we want to share with all of you. Where all that was isn't. There you go. And just allow yourself. They are desperate to get a hold of me. So just notice. There we go. They do have a hold of me. You all have a hold of me. We have a hold of each other. Notice that we're not alone. We're all one. There you go. Whatever you thought something was, it really isn't that. It's just how you interpret it. And if you just keep allowing yourself to let go of everything that seems so hard, stuck, and rigid, and just soften. We're all at different places in awareness. There you go. There you go, everybody. Allow yourself to be where you are, and allow them to be where they are. Okay. Just allow. Just allow. All right, Miss Joan, what you noticing?
I am noticing that the universe is very busy. There's a lot of communication coming in. Actually, this is what I felt, Janet, is as you were leading us into heart space, you were leading us from the current experience that we're having, which is very reactionary. There's just a lot of things coming up that are really in the process of disintegrating, but it's like being in the middle of, a major, spring clean, deep clean, complete remodel, and it's very chaotic. And you're leading us into heart space. You're leading us into a place that is much more calm and serene. Mm-hmm. And my sense is that some people are having a hard time letting go of the chaos. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And things can get louder as you are in the process of releasing them. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like all the interference and everything that is coming up is reflective, symbolic of the things that are coming up for everybody as we are really stepping to a space of greater consciousness, of greater fullness of who we are.
What was interesting to me is that in shifting focus to heart space, all that got muted. All that out there got muted. And it was me choosing and us choosing to take a different position that let that all kind of recede. It's still there, but it's not front and center anymore. It's just, and now I don't hear it at all. And it's such a deep place that I'm feeling within, because I really think that in all of this is such beauty, is such life, is such what is everyone's making a choice, right? And we're all at different places and levels of awareness and all those things. And it's those of us that really understand to the degree that we can understand how we are consciousness, and making it real and bringing it to the surface and allowing it to predominate. Because this feels quite precious to me right now. And there isn't the chatter.
Speak for yourself. I am, and you always do. You said that, and I was aware that my mind was still going, several different places at once.
I'm just like, whoa, it got real quiet. This is our great strength. And it feels like strength, okay? And I realize that sets up for, the other thing, comparison, right? And we don't, they serve and then they don't serve. it feels like such a deep, for me personally, and in all the heavy-cavey that has been going on that I have physically been tracking, this quiet, finally. And so I offer that to all of you out there who have been feeling turbulence and the upheaval inside and the upheaval out there. I share this with you, that there can be this, because it is there. And I've certainly had my experiences here the last 2 weeks.
And the reminder that we are both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
If you tuned in last week, I led people, kind of forcefully, I led people through this technique I call
it's
the
a wonderful,
skybox.
yeah, and it's a wonderful, wonderful way to look at stuff. Yeah.
And the thing I'm aware for myself is that I can be both in the skybox and on the playing field at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's reassuring when things do feel like, we're in the losing fourth quarter and I'm being tackled by the other side and it's cold and raining and snowing at the same time, that I'm also skybox. I'm also the being that is in the skybox with the champagne and the chocolate-covered strawberries, viewing the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And there's communication between both aspects of myself. And that, when I'm in the skybox, I can sense it's just a different directional, and as consciousness, there are no directions. It's a different directional, but it achieves the same as heart space, that the greater aspect of yourself, that has the bigger picture of what's going on and has infinite compassion for the player you on the playing field who is triggered or terrified or fight or flight or right in the midst of
adrenaline pumping. Yeah.
all the things that are going on. And there's a lot of commentary about what is going on. And as consciousness, the impression I'm getting or the feeling I'm getting is there's one level of consciousness which is in the skybox, where there's the sense of seeing the big picture and how to navigate the current climate and the turbulence. And then there's the Goodyear blimp. When you're up at the Goodyear blimp, there's total neutrality, and it's all a game, and there is no disaster going on because it's just a game. That's the level of remove that some people immediately jump to, where there is no good or bad. There's just experience in this world.
Well, I think you track at the same time all these different levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is getting ready for the game.
Yeah.
There is the physicality and what self goes through to engage. And then there is also the ownership of it, right? And you know that it's your team and it's you out there. And then there's this bigger view of where you're like, oh, okay, I'm really not attached in any of this, but I'm still down on the field, right? I'm still in the game. I've set up that there's a game to play. And I think that's important. Is how we choose to have a game. There'll always be a game of some sort. There'll always be a way to observe. And I think consciousness, is dancing in that. Boy, this feels really nice.
Yeah, the sun came out. That's a rare occurrence in November in the Northwest.
Yeah. This is
must be climate change.
Must be. So we want to invite our listeners to just be noticing on what levels of awareness you notice, and that all of this is part of the whole, and that the game of life, we're always going to have something to play with. So,
Well, yes, and I had this flash on a micro level,
Okay.
As I go throughout my life, I'll experience different things, and I'll realize to have different responses to things that have happened. And then I will hit these times where I am revisiting similar scenarios. And that's my opportunity to respond differently. So when I'm revisiting a similar scenario, it doesn't mean that I've gone, quote unquote, backwards. It doesn't mean that I didn't learn something, figure something out, discover something the first time round. It's an opportunity to respond differently, to bring more consciousness into what is happening. So collectively, we've been jumping up and down for some time, experiencing this reality as seeming like another timeline, as an earlier timeline in linear history. Whether we say it's, the 1929, 1931, 1939, 1942, or the 1950s. We've been hearkening back to that. And the opportunity now is to bring more consciousness to it and to bring our full awareness in it. And that's where things can radically change, and things can change in an instant. And your experience of it all can be completely different. So it's not necessarily sitting back, and you can, if you want, sit back and passively watch it all go by. I've got friends too who are just, turning off the news, so that's how they're responding to it. How I have responded to it in the past is I used to live on Vashon Island. I was a mystic in the woods. It was pretty easy for me not to look at the newspaper for 8 or 16 years.
Yeah.
And bringing consciousness to it means you're not reacting, but you're responding. And bringing consciousness to this experience, or responding to this experience as consciousness, means that you're bringing your greater self to it, which is a stronger space. And it doesn't mean you have to act out, but by standing in that stronger space, it changes the scenario around you.
Well, I think we're talking about creative, right? Any moment is a new moment of creativity. And we get really habituated, and then we make assumptions, and then we think something has always been that way. And we're in this push-pull with history and with our sense, well, that was then and this is now, and how that can be good, or however you want to use it. If we take all our judgments out of things and just look at things as dynamics and information, and we know as consciousness there's no time and space, 1920, 39, whatever the years are just markers, right? And so this could be just the next moment. And though we may physically be tracking that as, oh, well, that was 40, 60 years ago, and that has nothing to do, really, it's right in this moment, too. And we can go, oh, do I want to do something different with that information now? Do I see what the current situation is, and do I want to play what I know has happened, or do I want to take this as an opportunity to do something different? Just because it's happened before doesn't mean it has to happen that way again. Does it?
Depends on which universe you step into.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
I'm enjoying giving the analogy of this world being like a full immersion online game like Second Life, where you've got an avatar and you get to interact with people and all that kind of thing. And the creativity is consciousness. It's a fun game. It's all about the experience. And if you look at how complex that online game is, it's infinitely complex. It has all different sorts of patterning going on in it. And you can turn this way or that way and have a completely different trajectory. And you can play it over and over again, sort of like Groundhog Day, and never repeat the game twice. Mm-hmm. What my experience is as we are bringing in consciousness or as consciousness actually is coming more into form. That's more accurate. Mm-hmm. Consciousness is coming more into form. Our individual forms are more able to embody the essence of who we are, consciousness. And as that is happening, suddenly we go from a scripted game to improv. Mm-hmm. And what was a previous script or a longer evolutionary cycle is happening much more quickly. And that's when more unexpected things happen, outside of the box things. I believe this is beyond my imagination kind of thing that happens. And you can stay tuned because this is kind of like sweeps week. Mm-hmm. And you don't know what's going to happen in this reality game.
Mm-hmm. I think we have to own this is our creation. That's important, because it gives you your reality set that you're playing in. There's, for those that participate, not participating is just as much as participating. It's just a different way of being involved. And you can choose to not be involved, and you're still in that mindset, locked in about that. It's when you can go, okay, where is it where this could be different? And this is what Heart Space is all about, heart-centered awareness, is that because this is in the sea of potential, nothing that has been is. So you have to be in the right mindset of how you choose to involve yourself in life and these things that we are facing and the collective reality is holding. And it's the power of the individual to say, these are the rules I want to play. This is the game and the way I want it to show up. And, it's useful to all of us when there is no harm. We value that. I, as a human, value compassion. I value sharing. I value connection and making that available to all. And there are other people that are not in those realities. And how do I interact with them? How do I allow for them in their non-participation of what I think is important? There's all these different perspectives.
And
I don't know where that came from, but it's
yes.
just what I'm aware of.
Yeah.
It's not to make anyone out to be a bad guy. I think that's a trap. I look at the individual and go, what is their mindset? What is their reality they're working out of? That allows me compassion for them. And then I can say, okay, I choose to play that, or I don't choose to support that. And I think that's, and that may take me into places that I didn't know I wanted to go. It may take me into experiences I had no connection to, or it may just be this marvelous, like, what happened for me and falling in the tub twice and having to have a brace put on, and then that means traveling through wheelchairs and experiences all day long. And it went really well. It was interesting. It was different than what I would normally do. It gave me a whole different interaction with people and appreciations of systems and my own body and not being able to move my leg the way that one might take it for granted. And I'm okay. Bottom line, I'm okay. Just having different experiences. And that's enriching me. And, there you go, people.
Yeah. And it's interesting to hear your perspective, Janet, because there is a lot about you and the other, or them and the other, and how other people might be oppositional in this way. And it's definitely how we've been experiencing life on the playing field. And stepping, and I have been very reactionary about things in the last couple of weeks, and then it's about stepping back into myself as consciousness and remembering how that feels like. And as consciousness, then, like you were talking about, there's infinite potential. When you are operating as consciousness, there is infinite potential. It's when you're operating as the player on the field, you only have the choices that the coach tells you.
But I think the game setup, though, see, you have to have two people playing or more. You have teams, right? And so this team is about this and this team is about that. Already, you have to remember, no, consciousness allowed for both. And that's what's interesting, right?
Yes.
If we're, and which is kind of different than the one that you're not competing against someone else. You compete against yourself. That's a different way to play. That's a different kind of game.
And you brought it back to the other again, whereas I think of myself as consciousness, that I have created the game, I've created the playing field, I've created all the characters in the playing field.
Right.
So my focus rather then is what those rules of the game are. My focus is experiencing life both as the player on the field and from Skybox, and regaining my sense of regaining my sense of seniority and authority within this game that reorganizes how I'm going to be experiencing this game. And that gives me more sense of how to play differently or how to have a different experience while everything is going on.
I have no disagreement with that.
Yeah, it's just
it's just different perspectives of the same thing. So it's like, I totally have no problem understanding that I'm consciousness. I also have my physical awareness of self, right? And it's the interaction of both. And you hold it all at the same time, just like you're describing. All those different dynamics and layers and perceptions and levels of awareness, we embody that all at the same time if we pay attention, right? And sometimes we feel stuck in one or the other, and I don't suppose there's anything wrong with being stuck in consciousness, but I would go for that position in the first place, and realizing, okay, this is the way I'm choosing to experience myself as consciousness, and understanding so that's the ultimate power to me. And as I observe myself go through my paces and everyone else going through their paces, and understanding that it's all about each of us as ourselves, as consciousness, there is no other. It's what is it in me, right? You show up because I have created this world. I have created Joan. We've co-created.
I have created a monster.
Yeah.
So speaking of, we have to stop for a commercial break, but stay tuned because we're talking about fearmongering, bullies, bigots, and as consciousness from a state of grace, and we'll be right back.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye. Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet. And we've been talking about fearmongers, bullies, bigots, and the more fun aspects of consciousness.
Yeah. The creative aspects, right?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Whoa. Well, this feels a whole lot different to me, Joan.
Than when we first started?
Yeah,
yes,
than when we started.
We've changed. Hopefully we've changed reality around us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it kind of just depowers everything, right? Because this is, the words lead them to, up and. Energy just kind of gets, and this is, we're going to
It takes the charge out of it.
Yeah.
It takes the charge out of it. It's not static electricity anymore.
No, it's not. It's like
static electricity. That is a very interesting static electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Something staying static as opposed to something flowing or whatever.
Right. That's an interesting concept. I have to look at my science more often. So what do we notice about the world from this place then if we tune in? It's how to hold this when we're not together, right? It's just certainly easier, we know, listeners, how do you do this when you're home alone kind of thing. And that's why we certainly recommend listening to the YouTubes and replays of the shows and stuff like that. And what we are feeling here is real. And it's really important to realize that. Realize and real, right? That this you are experiencing is real. It is the present. And you can register a difference. We really notice the difference. And we're sure
I would say that it's real. It's meant to be physically experienced, and we're at choice with how we experience it.
Right. That's a good point. And it is a moment, and the moment can be quite long, and the moment can be another moment, and another moment, and then in another moment you might notice something different. And you go, I like that other moment better. Let me go back to that moment. And it's sometimes moving like shuffling cards or building blocks or things like that. Dominoes, maybe. And you just, all right, this feels better to me. And we each have an appreciation of what that feels like. And it doesn't have to be fleeting, and it doesn't have to be, oh, that was then and this is now and that's not real anymore. No. Feel your heart. And go deeper. And it just kind of lets all the air out. And then take a breath. And feel that infusion. And you just allow it to happen. When you feel that reaction, just realize it's a reaction. And just let it go. And stop. And then with the next breath, you respond. Don't allow others to dictate to you. Allow yourself to hear your truth.
And
there we be, huh?
yes. And next week's topic is still coming into form. We haven't decided which version of Groundhog's Day we're going to step into. I just realized that Groundhog's Day is a great analogy because if you think about it, Bill Murray woke up every morning, and the main pattern of the day remained the same. The different people in his hologram, all of who were unique, different people, but they were going to go about their day and have the same things. You know, these three old ladies were going to have a flat tire, and this person was going to fall out of a tree, and he was at choice on how he went through his day. So if you can think about your online Second Life video game here as having an external storyline and pattern, but you can navigate through it. You're at choice with how you respond and react through it. That's another way of having a bigger and different experience here.
And it did change by the end of the movie, right? Right.
And it, you know, infinite amount of times he had to go through to ultimately get the girl, which was interesting. And so anyhow, it's just another way to play the game. I want to remind folks of how to go deeper with us and connect with us beyond the show. And your touch point with us is our website, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. You can listen to all the podcasts of our show here. And you can also access Janet's website and my website. You can read Janet's blog, which comes out on Mondays, and my blog, which comes out on Fridays. I also have a thing called Mystic Minute, which is my YouTube video that I post on the website. It comes out on Tuesdays. We have meetups around the Puget Sound. Sometimes, actually, what I'm doing now is I'm recording curriculum for my future coaching program. So I'm not promising twice a week anymore. Because there's all sorts of fun new stuff about that too. So we've got meetups, we've got sessions, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube. So you can find out all about that. But tomorrow, boys and girls, you can connect with us on our Conscious Conference call. It's at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. And that way you can actually get on the phone and have a conversation with us. Have this heart space experience, which right now you are sharing with, 30,000 people in 190 countries, and you can have it in a small group experience and have it much more immediately interactive. So that's tomorrow, November 17th at 7 p.m. Pacific, and you can actually go to our website and find the link to connect to us. Anything else happening in your world in Portland now you're back, Janet?
I'm going to have to look at that. Sometimes you can put out there, and sometimes you just go into this space and place where you need to be more focused inward. And I think I'm probably in one of those places right now, and enjoying. And please, we're both, Joan and I, do private sessions and catch us that way. And if you want some personal attention from one of us or the other, you can find out all those information at our websites and stuff. Life is good, everyone. It seems really important to reaffirm that.
And, I mentioned the skybox technique to folks, and you can actually, I've got a recording for that. So if you go to our website, there's a post about how to send me your email, sign up for my newsletter, and you get access to that video, and you can listen to it over and over again to really help integrate that into your life.
It's very helpful, people. Joan's done a wonderful job with that, so be sure and use it.
Yeah, and I don't actually, unlike you, Janet, I don't normally do one-on-one sessions. My focus has been on teaching and on having group programs that are 8-week long or private coaching that goes for 12 weeks. And I just felt like between now and the end of the year that people are needing more support, so I am available for one-shot sessions, and that's all on the site as well.
Yeah. Well, I think there's just, we've got just a little bit of time.
Yeah.
What if this What if this quiet was felt all over the world? We're in 190 countries. What if people had a way to notice it? And there's so much good work going on out there, everyone. And there is so much turmoil going on out there. And so it reflects what's going on within each of us in our reorganization, our inner work. So come to groups, listen to the show, listen to podcasts, join the websites, and hang with those that make you feel good. And hold to that. Let that be that we can be okay. We're really finding it in group here. We had people that just like, whoa, okay, there it is. It was just a matter of tuning. It's a very busy, lots of things you can interact with.
And you have been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, and along here with Janet. And
This has been lovely. Thank you.
Thank
We
you
want to
all
thank
for
all of you. It's always a delight.
Let's tune in next week, same time, same channels.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.